Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
Welcome back. Bob Bender here. In the studio with us today, Angela McCuiston. I think I got that right, didn't I?
You did.
Good. This is going to be an interesting show. In fact, let me say, this is going to be a different show from what we normally do, simply because of what Angela does. And I think you have a unique story to be able to tell our listeners that's actually something very beneficial for them. Mm-hmm. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're a certified personal trainer, and I like this, corrective exercise specialist. Mm-hmm. I could use one of those. Also, you're a senior fitness specialist, so anybody knows me. You could use that too. And a cancer exercise specialist. Mm-hmm. You're also the owner of Music Strong, which is really part of the reason that you're here today is talk about your business. You specialize in personal fitness training for musicians. Mm-hmm. You've performed with such celebrities as Nancy Griffith and Mary Wilson, which I think is very cool. You maintain several training facilities here in Nashville, and you're really working to help people from all walks of life benefit from really what's your specialized training. How did you get started in this? Because you actually started out as a musician, right?
Yeah, I am a flutist by trade. Is that how you would say that?
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure, yeah. So I have a couple of degrees in music performance because playing is what I love to do.
Actually, looking at your bio, you've got a lot of degrees in a lot of things.
You've
got more letters behind your name than most people.
Yeah, they tell you when you get out on your own, the more fruit salad you have to after your name, the better. So I really took that to heart, I think.
Yeah, a lot of vowels and syllables there. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a flutist, and so I still do that actively, and I perform with lots of area orchestras, and I perform in some other orchestras and in the Army Band and those things. But I got started in this. That was your original question? I've already forgotten.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, so I've always had an interest in fitness, and that went back to my, middle school years. My grandfather was a colonel in the National Guard, and he was this wiry guy that was just as buff as could be, and he'd tell me to do my squats so I could learn how to, get up on skis, doing water skis, and I was terrible at water skiing. But Grandpa said do squats, so I was like, I'll do squats, it'll be great. And I found out my uncle is a big bike racer and a personal trainer and a massage therapist, and now he just builds cars, but he does all these things. So it kind of is in the genes. And so I got into fitness in college, and when I graduated with my master's, I thought, cool, I have 2 pieces of paper that say I can play good and real good. Yeah. Now what?
Yeah. And how do I make money?
How do I make money with this, right? Yeah. And so I had moved to a new town. I didn't know anybody. I had no job. I had nothing to do besides play my flute. And I thought, okay, I got to do something else. I've always liked fitness. Let me just delve into this. And so I did. And as I went, I started figuring out, I don't know anything. There's so much I don't know. And so I spent the next couple of years learning everything I possibly could. And then I gave a presentation at, don't ask me where the idea came from. There's the Florida Flute Association convention. I submitted a proposal to do, strength training for flutists, I think.
Wow.
I don't know where it came from.
Talk about getting particular.
Oh, yeah. And I thought, what's something that nobody's ever talked about? Well, I could do that. And so I did, and it wasn't, I don't even remember, this was 10 years ago, so I don't remember if it was really specific or not, but I gave the presentation. I had a ton of people in the room, and this lady comes up to me afterwards and says, well, my arms go numb when I play, and this happens and that, and do you travel to give workshops? I said, well, no, but I could. And Music Strong was born from there. That was how the business started.
When did that come to be?
That was January 2009, 10 years ago.
So you've been doing this for a while.
Literally.
Wow, yeah. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
Where's the cake?
I know.
Oh, wait a minute. We're talking about health and fitness. That's not going to work here.
Can we have a pie instead?
Yeah, okay.
Make it a healthy pie. I don't know. Quiche. Yeah.
So it took off from there.
It did, but a little preemptiveness before that. I got a little ahead of myself. So what happened is that I think where this went is as I was trying to delve into fitness and find out what is my niche, why am I interested in this, it occurred to me, I have been injured 3 different times because I've played the flute. And the piccolo. One of them was a piccolo injury.
You got injured playing
a
musical instrument. Yeah.
It sounds funny. Like piccolo weighs about 2 pounds. Not even. It weighs like a half pound, like a couple ounces. How can you? It doesn't have to do with the weight of the instrument. It has to do with the position you find yourself, and when you're cramming for an audition, which was what I was doing. You go from 0 to 100. You're basically going no hours a day or very few hours a day practicing if you're not in the habit. To I've got to learn all this stuff. 4 hours a day.
Right.
And over the course of a couple weeks, I got muscle spasms and all kinds of things and numbness. And, I gotten tendinitis. And the story that I tell people was the breaking point. This third audition that I had, I was preparing for I was preparing for an audition for the President's Own, which is the Marine band. And it was for a piccolo opening. And I've always wanted to be in that band. And piccolo is my specialty. I love playing piccolo. I promise it's not the shrieky death twig you think it is. But it's my favorite. And I thought, you know what, though? I don't know all the orchestral lit I'm supposed to. I can do this. And I didn't have a job at that point. I just graduated. I thought, I'm going to buckle down and learn all this. So I went from practicing. I had just gotten out, so I wasn't doing much, to like 2 to 4 hours a day for a couple of weeks. And my body just rebelled. Because think how small that instrument is. Your hands are super close to you. And when you're focused on something, what do we tend to do? We tend to come in a lot.
Tighten up, right.
Tighten up. And I got to the point where it was hard to put my arms down, and I had muscles in my back that were spasming out. And I went to a doctor and said, you got to help. I'm in a lot of pain, and I can't play. And what's going on? And he said, well, long story short, you have a knot. And you've heard about these knots.
Oh, yeah.
You go to the massage therapist, right? He goes, well, you have a knot, so to speak.
I've got a couple of those permanently. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like right up here, I'm sure. And he said, well, ordinarily, I would give you a shot of cortisone right in the middle of that. It would calm it down, but it's right over your heart. And if we did that, it would probably kill you. So that's not what you want, is it?
No.
I said, plan B is what? He said, well, I'll give you this cream and you should stop playing. And that was the 3rd time in my life I'd been injured and heard, why don't you stop playing? And I went, that's enough. I'm sick and tired of doctors telling me stop playing as an answer. Why don't you quit being a doctor when something hurts? Why don't you quit being a dentist? Why don't you quit being a whatever? Just because something hurts doesn't mean you don't do it. Right. There's got to be another answer. And I looked around and I couldn't find an answer. I couldn't find any information. I went, well, screw it. I'm going to be the answer. I'm going to be a resource. So that's the other side of that.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
And when you talk about, injuries, it doesn't just go with flutists or piccolo players. I mean, you think about, yes, keyboardists, but, I look back to guitar players.
Oh, gosh,
who,
yeah.
They're in the woodshed for hours upon day, and it's a repetitive motion. And so after a while, it's not just their hands that are hurting, but things kind of move up the arm and into the body. And after a while, you don't realize that pain that you've got is really being attributed to some other type of affliction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. String players, guitar players, bass players, violin players. Those are some of the 3 instrumentalists that I've had the most business from, the most problems with. I've seen all kinds of stuff, and a lot of it has to do with problems in your neck, problems in your shoulder, problems in the elbow, but mostly it's a larger systemic issue. It's not generally related just to the hands and the wrist. It goes much broader throughout the body.
Posture has something to do with it, I'm sure.
Posture has a lot to do with it. If you think about how you are sitting or standing, either over your instrument, how often do we bring the instrument to us instead of we need to bring the instrument to us instead of bringing ourselves to the instrument.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. But we think, okay, like a guitar is shaped one way. Okay, well, it's a stick. The body is not a stick. The body is fluid, but a guitar is not. And so we have to conform ourselves to that instrument, whether it be natural or not. And you just do that one motion for hours a day over decades, and you don't do the opposite at all, at some point something's going to not feels so good.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, though, I want to dig a little more into that because I was a bassist at one time and a guitarist along with a lot of other instruments and can relate to a lot of that. So we're going to talk some more with Angela McCuiston, who is a certified personal trainer with the company Music Strong that she's had around for 10 years now. Happy anniversary again.
Thank you.
And you're listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Hi, this is Vinny Rebus, the founder of Indie Connect. Our goal is to ensure that you have the knowledge, the tools, skills, resources, and connections that you need to develop a profitable and long-lasting career in music. One way we do this is through these Business Side of Music podcasts. I'd also like to invite you to check out Indie Connect magazine, our free multimedia online publication packed with practical interviews and advice from music industry experts. Go to www.indieconnectmag. That's www.indieconnectmag.com. Let us walk with you and guide you every step of your musical journey.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Hey, we're back in the studio here in Nashville, Tennessee. You're listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music, just in case you didn't know what you were tuned into. In the studio with us today, Angela McCuiston, certified personal trainer, corrective exercise specialist, senior fitness specialist for guys like me, and the owner of Music Strong. We were talking about musicians and their instruments, and as I briefly mentioned, I'm an old guitar player, old bass player, and you know, I remember some of the old guitars, and especially bass guitars, those things are logs. They're heavier than anything. And when you wear that strap and you're holding that instrument up, it is a lot of weight. And is there techniques or exercises, things you can do that would help you adjust your body to where maybe you're not going to feel it so much? I mean, let me ask you, does it really come down to maybe just like lifting weights to try and be in better shape, or what can a musician do?
It's some of both. I mean, some of it is ergonomics. Some of it is instrument modification. Sometimes that's possible. Sometimes that's not possible.
When you say instrument modification, clarify a little bit.
I'm not exactly sure what you can do on guitars and basses. I'm not as familiar, but as a flute player, I know that there are all kinds of things people have done. Think about it. You're holding a metal tube that's basically a stick with keys out to the side.
Right.
Right? The heavier it is.
And it's not in a natural...
It is not. No, there are three groups of people that tend to have the worst... It's the worst worst ergonomics you can think of. That would be flutists, guitarists, and violin, viola players, because it goes out to one side of your body. You're twisted in somewhat of an unnatural position. Your
you kind of have that
twisted.
senior pose picture with your head off to the side.
Yeah, and it's just they're probably the worst ones that you can think of. So at least I know with the flute you can change the keys so like that you don't have to reach as far. You can plug some things. There's all kinds of things they can change the foot joint so that your fingers don't have to reach. And I don't know everything about all the different instruments, but I know that there are different people that will take a standard instrument and say, well, why don't we modify this to your body? So that's something that you can do. There was an electric bass player that I trained for a while. He could not play for more than maybe 2 minutes without intense pain and then numbness, and he was done. And he was in college at Belmont.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I've never seen a kid with forearms this tight, young guy, super fun, right? And he had, what he had done for his bass, his electric bass, he had a double strap. I told him, well, when you come in for an assessment, bring your bass, bring all your gear, let me see how you play. So he brought this bass out, and he had a double strap, not a single strap. I've never seen anything like it. But what happened is the bass comes in front of him, so he's still twisting his body. The right arm goes back, the left arm goes in front, no matter what. And it frustrated him that he wouldn't be symmetrical. So I had to take that into account. How many hours is this guy playing in this position? Because, you play right-handed, you don't play left-handed. You're not an ambidextrous thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so one arm is this way, the other doesn't turn around. But also, you're always doing everything in the front of your body, not just as an instrumentalist, but you type, you eat, you drive, you do everything in the front of your body. And what do you do for the back half of your body? almost nothing.
Yeah, neglected.
It's neglected. Yeah, and then when you play an asymmetrical instrument on top of that, you're just asking for one side of the body to be doing a whole lot more than another, right? And we're all dominant on one side, so it kind of compounds that way. So when you're talking about, is it just lifting weights? Yes and no. There's some corrective exercise stuff that you can do. You activate the weak muscles, and you take the overactive muscles, and you basically, I don't want to say turn them off, but you get them to calm down. And then that way, they're not going to inhibit the weak muscles, because you can't have both. So you have to calm those down, you have to activate these, and then you tie it into the body as a whole, so it all works together, and your brain goes, oh, it's all of this. It's not just this one thing doing something.
Yeah. Is it something that's fairly easy to learn? I mean, because especially if you've been a musician for years and years and years, and it's the same repetitive motion. You know, a lot of really accomplished musicians, the majority of them don't look at their instrument. You know, they either are looking at sheet music, or they're good enough that it's in their head. Can those same skill sets be used in trying to alleviate some of these issues and get the corrective? I don't know if posture is the word, or stature, or...
Yes, so there's definitely some things that you can do, and all my sessions, we incorporate body awareness. I am constantly astounded by how many people don't have a clue what their bodies do. When I say move your shoulder, they move their elbows, or move your hips and they move their toes or their knees. It's really kind of funny. But if you're not that aware of yourself, when you're playing, think about when you're in the woodshed and you're playing, you're hashing out this part and you're into it. 30, 40, 60 minutes goes by, and suddenly you come out of that posture and you realize how hunched you were, how whatever you were.
And how tired you are.
Yeah, and all of a sudden the only reason you stopped, because you were stuck in your headspace, the only reason you stopped is because something started to hurt. What I do is not just about getting out of pain or preventing pain. It has to do more than that. But it's a really good starting point. So I bring a lot of body awareness to you. It's not just posture, but it's how am I moving? Am I paying attention to my knees while I'm working on this riff? Probably not. Well, I'm going to teach you to do that.
Yeah.
So you have all of this full body awareness, so you're able to use your body more efficiently and effectively while you're practicing, not just being strong.
Standing up or sitting down, which is better?
I'm going to say standing. We sit for everything.
Oh, we do. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm kind of, not sitting up straight like I should be, but, you're talking into the microphone and yeah. And that's tough too, because you're right. We do sit a lot. We've become, let's say sedentary type people. Definitely. We sit on our butts and, as you said, drive, eat, get on the computer, type. I think that's probably the one thing that musicians do have the benefit of, is especially rock and rollers, let's say, or country artists. There's a lot of movement on stage. So, yeah, it's so it is better, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, you think about when you're in the studio, depending on what instrument you play, you're going to be in one position for a while because you have to be really close to that microphone.
Right.
It's not the same as clipping on a microphone to project yourself to an audience. So you are, and if you don't get on that first take, or you're worrying about the other people not getting on that first take, it's going to take a while. And so you're in that position for a while. It's not natural, even if you are
and trying to be quiet at the same time.
And trying to be quiet. I know if you're a string player or a typical orchestral musician.
Or a woodwind player.
Yeah, woodwind player.
Yeah.
Yep. Any of those, if you're in any kind of a studio position or an orchestral position, you're still going to be sitting most of the time. So I know when I practice, I never practice sitting down, ever. I'm always standing, because when I perform, I sit.
So that's a question I was going to ask. If you're practicing a part or you're learning a song, it's still best to be standing.
I think it's best to move as much as possible. If you're sitting, I wouldn't sit for hours and hours and hours. I mean, like I'm sitting right now and I'm wiggling back and forth. Like, do I feel my sit bones while I'm talking to you? Am I paying attention to more than how close this microphone is to my face?
Right.
Am I paying attention to more than keeping the buttons on my coat quiet? All those things. And if you're not paying attention to those, you're not going to have enough body awareness, no matter what position you're in, to keep yourself out of injury.
What about drummers?
Oh, drummers are fun. They're a fun bunch. I have a funny story about that. So there's a drummer that I met. I almost hit him with my car is how we met. It was a really nice story, actually. in the public parking lot at the grocery store, and this guy walks behind my car, and I almost backed into him, and he yells at me. He yells and goes, "How do you like your car?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry." And I at that point I didn't like my vehicle. I said, "I hate it. Why?"
You want it?
Do you want it?
Yeah.
I'd almost run over this massive person, and he comes over and starts talking to me. He goes, "Oh, actually, my wife is looking for a vehicle, blah, blah, blah." But at that point, I had magnets on my car. It said Music Strong. So what is that? And I told him what it was, and he said, "Oh, really? Well, I'm a drummer." I said, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "Well, can you help me? My hands go numb when I play."
Right.
And I thought, oh, okay. Because you think about, okay, are we talking drummers? Are we talking percussionists? Because there's kind of a difference
There is a
between the
difference,
two.
yeah.
You know? So
It's not only just holding sticks, but what you're holding. It could be different sticks or different instruments.
different sticks, and how are you holding them?
Yeah.
How are you hitting this instrument? How are you practicing this? So if you're a set player, let's talk about set players, because there's a lot of set players, right? They're using all four limbs at the same time.
They are.
And chewing gum in a different rhythm. How do y'all do that? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, this is why I'm not a drummer.
Are you doing math too? Can you balance my checkbook at the same time? Were you thinking about these? Anyway, so set players, I mean, it's easy because you don't switch feet to do bass drum with the other foot. You don't switch hands to do. I mean, you're still doing a whole lot of things that it's very easy to get into overuse syndrome with the smaller muscles of the ankle and the wrist and whatever. But think about the rest of you. Think about any drummer you've ever seen. Think about a picture of them on the stage. Do they have great posture 9 times out of 10? Not usually. They're hunched over. They're doing some kind of weird something, and they're going to be in that way for hours. So a lot of things that drummers do actually emulates your typical desk jockey at a regular job, at a computer. They're hunched over somewhat. Not to the same degree because, they might have, depending on how big your kit is, you might have cymbals way out here or more drums way out here. Hopefully nobody's got anything way in the sky anymore. I hope not. But, I mean, you tend to be forward a little more than anything. So drummers, percussionists, a little less than because y'all get to move around a lot, but set players.
And throw sticks at other people.
And throw sticks. Oh, yeah.
Hit them in the head, whatever.
Yeah, but set players have some fun things going on. There's all kinds of fun stuff going on. Cervical stuff, neck issues, thoracic outlet with or shoulder impingement, tendonitis in the wrist and stuff. I mean, we could talk injury, but there's a whole lot. The biggest thing I see with drummers, lack of core strength. Believe it or not, they're good at doing everything else. But you're sitting on a throne, and what are you doing? You're hunching.
Yeah.
Right? You're hunched over. Do you feel your sit bones? Probably not. You're more focused on your hands and your feet. So there's that body awareness, but then there's also, we got to get, your core is everything but your arms and your legs and your head. So that doesn't mean just your abs. That means your butt, which you're sitting on your butt. So it's probably not going to be strong. So we have to strengthen your butt. We have to strengthen your abdominals. We have to strengthen your back. The rear of your shoulders, stretch out your chest, make sure your neck is not too far forward and the rear of your neck is strengthened. All those things that bring you back into better alignment make you a better player. And you have longevity of playing, all those things.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of how they can get into that core shape that you're talking about here. On the show, Angela McCuiston, certified personal trainer and owner of Music Strong, a business that specializes in personal fitness training for musicians. I tell you, this is a wealth of information and is really wanting me to sit up straighter as we do this podcast. So thank you very much. You're listening to this edition of The Business Side of Music.
Hey, this is Jerry Salley, and you're listening to my buddy Bob Bender on The Business Side of Music.
You're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Wow, I just joined the Music Starts Here community. This is a truly hidden gem for anyone in the music business. Whether you live in Nashville or anywhere else in the world, Music Starts Here is like a GPS for your music career. This is the place to be if you want to get advice and direction from some seriously talented musical people who have been where you want to go. Music news, events, and a great big community with resources for artists, songwriters, musicians, studio and tech, along with music business advice from pros in the industry, all on one site? Make sure you get your free profile now. go to www.musicstartshere.org. That's musicstartshere.org.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hey everyone, we're back in the studio here in Nashville, Tennessee with Angela McCuiston. We talk about, we mentioned the fruit salad that goes behind your name. So I want to touch on a couple of these things before we go a little farther here. So your NASM-CPT, CES, SFS, and CETI-CES.
Bless you.
Yeah. You've got a lot of credentials behind you. I want people to understand that. I mean, not only do you have your master's in music and in flute performance, which Florida State University, and then you also went to Tennessee Tech.
I did.
Yeah, and then of course you were also a member of the 129th Army Band.
I am.
In Nashville. Still are?
Yeah, I'm going to be transferring to the 313th Army Reserve Band in Huntsville here pretty soon. But yeah, I've been with them for 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, got a lot of street cred, as we like to say. So we're talking about posture during the break, and maybe some of the things I could start doing. As you said, you notice, boy, the guy's sitting up straighter during this interview. I wonder why. Well, it's because you're making me think, and we know the benefits that can help a musician. How do they get started on this? I mean, they need someone such as yourself to come and help them. What if they're in St. Louis, Missouri, or they're in Atlanta, Georgia, or, how does this work?
I do online training.
Okay.
So
Is it like
that's an
through
option.
Skype or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what it is it's generally better for somebody who has a clue as to how to lift weights in the first place. But I can work around that. So
now, do they need to go out and buy a weight set or?
Oh, heck no.
Okay.
No. So if they
Cans of paint will work or?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Why not? Pick up your drum kit 100 times. Like, let me get you strong enough to load that thing into your van 100 times back and forth. Does that work? Push an amp up 2nd Avenue, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do online training. So what that is, you can find me on my website and or contact me through email, whatever. And what I do is I have an initial assessment with you. We talk. We find out what's going on. I'll send you an intake form and find out, okay, do you have problems? Do you have issues? Why do you want to do this in the first place? And then we have a meeting over Skype, and I'll give you a movement assessment over Skype. I'll find out where your personal muscle imbalances are, and then I can write a program based on your goals, what you have available, your schedule, and your personal muscle imbalances. So it's going to be extremely tailored to you. I've got an app that I use, and you log in. Your program's going to be on your app. You can take it with you to the gym. You can take it with you in your house, whatever you're going to use it. And each exercise has a video that goes along with it. So what I used to do before I had the app was I would have another Skype session and just walk you through the Word document that if I didn't have YouTube videos that link to it, I would walk you through form and all that. But in that very first session, we'll have another Skype session, and I'll just walk you through, this is what proper form looks like. Taking your shoulder blades back and down, squeezing them there. It's the weirdest thing. Most people have no idea how to do that anymore. Bracing your abs, hinging from your hips. Those are the 3. People don't think about that. So we do that, and then every 4 weeks or so, I give you a new program, and we progress it from there, and you do it on your own. I'm looking into doing actual one-on-one training via Skype. It has to do with time available, but it is an option.
And it is something that, we're in a society now, especially with the younger generation, where it's instant gratification, or as I like to call it, the microwave generation. Push a button, it's instantaneously hot or cold. This takes time, though, because first of all, you're correcting bad habits, and you're trying to create new habits that are good.
You think about it, you didn't learn your instrument in a day. How long did it take you to learn it? How long did it take you to get decent?
Or
How
still
long did
learning
it take
it.
you to be good?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the same thing. It's not about perfecting the motion and being the strongest person on the planet. This is a journey that sounds so cliche. But this is a thing that you do that helps you be a better musician at the same time. So it's not just about the end goal of I have to pick that up with this form and blah 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 blah. That's part of it, but you're also learning body awareness, all these things that translate to your craft at the same time. And exercise, there's so many hidden benefits of exercise. You think more clearly, you are more creative, you have better sleep, you're in a better mood, and Well, isn't that better for networking and recording and the whole bit?
Yeah.
I mean, there's all these other things that go along with it. So it's not just about the end result. There is no end result, really. It's a continuous thing.
It's an ongoing process. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about vocalists? Is there something there? Because,
Sure.
and we've had vocal coaches on the show in the past, and, a lot of that is about how they stand, their stature and such, and their breathing techniques. And of course, we do deal with vocal cord issues, but it's the same thing for them. It's exercise, and it's getting rid of bad habits.
Absolutely. I've trained several vocalists, and one I can think of here in Nashville, she'd be the first to tell you that after our sessions, she sang better because she wasn't as aware of her posture as well. It's not all about posture, but posture has a lot to do with it. And posture is not... What's funny is you say the word posture around people, they automatically sit ramrod straight and think, now I'm doing it right. That's not good posture either. Good posture is if you're sitting, you are balanced on the in between your sit bones. Your weight is now being distributed through your spine. It's just that easy. But then you're also aware, do I have tension in my chest? Do I have pain in my back? What is that posture? It's just being aware and then overcoming those imbalances that might be hindering her from having the full vocal capacity that she naturally has, or not having the tidal volume in her lungs that she could have because she's compressing and doesn't know it, and not having the core strength to hold herself upright. All those kinds of things. Or here's a fun one. A lot of vocalists, neck injuries. Not maybe injuries, but there's definitely an imbalance. You see all kinds of people with something called, Google this, forward head posture. You see it all the time. Vocalists are they're not exempt from this one. It's where your head juts forward, kind of like a turtle. You see this a lot of desk workers who work at computers. Vocalists, they can strain themselves. They want to hit those high notes. They want to hit that powerful chord. They want to hit all those things, and they strain. But what has to happen is that your head needs to come back in alignment. Your ears should be over your shoulders, and if they're not, if you just do that, suddenly your entire spine lengthens the way it's supposed to be. You're going to sing better, but you have to have the core strength to do that.
So this is cool. We're taking a break and, catching up on things. And we left out one important thing here, which is, along with all of, as you say, the fruit salad behind your name, we forget to mention author.
As of now.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the book.
Okay. So I've decided to write my first in a series. It's an ebook, and it's called The Musician's Essential Exercises. Because this is geared towards people who have no idea what they're doing, but they know they need to do something. Whether you are at home, you are on tour, you are wherever, you need to know the basics. And these are the basics, just the essentials that are specific to what musicians mostly need. And it's mostly body weight stuff. But I give you the options that if you are in the gym or you have some bands available, you can do a great workout that will benefit you as a musician specifically, as opposed to doing nothing or going in the gym and hurting yourself or hiring a trainer who doesn't know what you do.
Right.
So I've just written this book. It's available for pre-order right now. I'm hoping to have it released by the end of the week.
And what's it going to be called again?
The Musician's Essential Exercises.
And they'll be able to find that on your website
You
too.
can find that on my website.
So how does someone reach you?
I am super easy to find. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on my website, email. I'm on Twitter, sort of. Well, yes. Okay. So if you can find me on Facebook, just type in Music Strong. Same thing with Instagram. It's musicstrong_Angela. You can find me on email as angela@musicstrong.com. My website is www.musicstrong.com. I think I've said that about 700 times now.
That's good. They need to know that.
That's pretty easy.
Because otherwise we'll get an email from someone and go, how do we get hold of Angela again?
Just say Angela Flute Nashville. That'll show up too.
Yeah. Well, this is great information. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. Co-producer for the show is Vinny Rivas. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Los Angeles, California and Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound designed by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Fuson.